Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Klaskowski.
This week's episode of Adobe Photoshop TV is brought to you in part by Adobe Systems, the people who bring you Photoshop, Illustrator, and an entire line of software for web, design, and video. CDW. For hardware, software, gadgets, and more, CDW has the right technology right now. Digital Lifestyle Outfitters, makers of the Home Dock Deluxe. Watch Photoshop TV on your TV with the Home Dock Deluxe from DLO. ISO, makers of high-end monitors for creative and moving image professionals. iStock Photo, the world's preeminent collection of member-generated royalty-free images and digital art. iStockPhoto.com.
Hey everyone, hi, and welcome to another episode I'd like to call a Springtime Fresh episode of Photoshop TV. Welcome, I'm here, I am Corey Barker, and with me is the man himself, Matt Klaskowski.
Welcome back, everybody.
Well,
should we tell them who this episode's sponsored by?
well, if they must
brought
know.
to them?
Well, this show is, of course, as every episode, is brought to you by our fine friends at the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the people who bring you this fine magazine here, Photoshop User, and
now we can say Darkroom magazine as well. So all about Lightroom and Photoshop together.
Well, here we are back
Together.
again.
We're
Now that
ticked
that's
today
done,
if you haven't figured it out.
well, here we are.
We are.
We are here.
It's going to be a great show.
We've got a whole lot of things in store for you. We've completely forgot what all that was, but we'll figure it out along the way.
We should start off with Dave and Scott. We're briefly back, and then they left again.
They left, yeah.
Actually, should we tell them?
Sure.
Dave and Scott quit. They're gone.
They've gone, and it is now the Matt and Laddie show.
The Photoshop TV contracts came up for renewal, and they said, we don't want any part of that stuff anymore. So, yeah, the show has changed, but the bad jokes will still be here.
As always.
All right, no, the show hasn't changed. It's still Photoshop TV. Dave and Scott are just not here. That said, I think we have a tutorial.
I think we do, and I think we'll start with you.
I think I'm supposed to start. So I see our other camera guy, and he has no idea. He's like back and forth, and when are these guys going to look at me? All right. I will look at you now. Fast Eddie. So I kind of ran out of things to do, and I'm blatantly stealing one right out of Scott's Lightroom book because I like the book that much and because I like to steal from Scott. And what we're going to do here is the popular question comes. So you work on your photos inside of Lightroom. And we're going to do just that. I'll take you through some quick processing steps here. And then you get done with it. Then what? What do you do with it? All right. Well, you know you can print it. So if you want to print it, the next logical place to go is to the print module. But you want to send it out to people. You want other people to see those photos. And that's where the Lightroom doesn't have a save button. Okay. So it's a little bit different than you might be used to. So let's take a look here. And right now I'm just going to hide my left side panel because I don't need it anymore. And I've got a photo. I'm here inside of the Develop module. And let's just go through some quick develop steps here. The very first thing I would do is work on my white balance. And if you can use the white balance eyedropper. And what's cool about it is, let me show that left side panel really quick again. What's cool about it is, as you hover over the image, you can get a preview. So, for example, if I were to click in the grass, you can see that would make the photo look really bad. But I can see that before I ever click there because I can see it in the top left. So what you want to do is click on an area that is kind of a neutral gray color. And if you look at those RGB settings, they should be kind of close to each other. So I'd go ahead and I would set the white balance. Now, I would hide my left side panel so we can see the photo more. At this point, I go down into the toning area. And the very first thing that I'll do is try to get my exposure right. So I drag the exposure slider, and I'm going to turn on the clipping highlight warning up here because you're going to see as I drag this to the right, see all those red areas? That's Lightroom letting me know that there's no detail inside of those white areas. I'm going to be blowing it out. So that's okay. I'm going to leave it there a little bit because I want to keep my exposure up. The next slider, I would normally go down to the blacks, but the next slider I want to take a look at is the recovery, because this will help me recover the detail from those highlights. So you see here where I started to clip in the highlights where it became all white and there's no detail. Well, before the recovery slider, the only thing I could do was bring down my exposure, and that would darken the entire photo. Now I can increase the recovery highlight slider, and you can see here, watch what it does. You don't even see the photo change. You just see all the highlight clipping go away. That's before and that's after. So it's that easy. The recovery slider, it should be called highlight recovery because that's what it does. It recovers the detail from your highlights. If you have any detail in the shadows, maybe somewhere back in those trees there, I can increase the fill light, and that'll bring out some of the detail in my shadows. And then finally, blacks, I can move the slider down here. By the way, you can always come up top and you can click on your histogram and you can move the same way. So it does the same thing, clicking up here or down here. And just to kind of finish things off, the last thing I would do here is probably darken the edges a little bit. I'd increase the lens vignetting and the midpoint here just to come in here and darken some of those edges, and you can see that's before and that's after. So at this point, I'd be done, Corey.
You might be.
I don't want to print it. I don't want to put it up onto a website, but I do want to send it to somebody. So I'd go up to the file menu and I'd look for, what you're used to seeing in Photoshop is save. Well, there is no save inside of Lightroom. You're not saving the file. What you'd want to do is go to Export Photos, and that's going to open up the export dialog for you. And inside here, I've got some presets up at the top. I can burn full-size JPEGs, or I can export for email. All right, so if you are emailing these photos to a client, that'd be a good option to choose, and I'll do just that. And then I'll put it into a subfolder on my desktop. If you want to change the name, you would do that under the naming area. Here's where I choose the format. So JPEG, I can also choose PSD, TIFF, or the DNG, as well as choosing my quality setting. So I'll bump that up to 80 here. Color space. I'm just emailing it. The sRGB color space will work fine. And the last thing you want to do here is, if I sent this file as it was inside of Lightroom, chances are it's a high quality JPEG or a RAW file. It's going to be huge if you don't size it down. So that's what that preset did for email. It actually sized down the photos for me, but you could always come under here and you could change those width and those height settings. And I just hit the export button and Lightroom will do all of the work for me. It exports the photo. You can see it pops it into that folder for me. So the last thing I want to show you is, let's go back over into my library grid view here. And if you take a look at what we have, let's say you want to export multiple photos. Well, I'm just going to press Command A on the Mac or Control A on the PC. It selects all of them, and I'd go under File, go down to Export, and inside here I do the same thing. Just hit Export, and we can go ahead and overwrite, and you're going to see it's going to export multiple files. So chances are you need to email more than one photo to a client, and that's how you can do it right there inside of Photoshop Lightroom. Do you have a tutorial for us?
I do.
Well, do it.
I will. I shall. What I'm going to do is actually, for those of you who were at Photoshop World and perhaps attended Scott's Down and Dirty Trick session, he did a image wall, like on Apple's website. Well, I'm going to do a similar effect like that, but we're going to use some text and smart objects and how you can really go really far distorting text, and really you'll have the power to go back and change it without going through all the steps over again. So, I have a document here, and it's filled with a black background. And first thing I'm going to do is actually go over here and create a new layer. And on that layer, I'm going to go ahead and start laying down some text. And let's just click anywhere inside the document here, and let's just type a word. Let's do kingdom. Now it's filled with black, so I need to go ahead and fill it with white. So I'm just going to press Command Delete, Control Delete, and it'll fill it with my background color. I'm going to bring up Free Transform. I'm going to hold down my Shift and my Option key, and this will scale out from the center and make that text really big. And because it's still editable text, it's not resampling the text, so it's going to remain nice and sharp. Now, Got my text all sized up. Now I'm going to, before I do anything else, turn this text layer into a smart object. Yes, you can turn a text layer into a smart object.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did. No, I didn't.
All right then.
What was I supposed to say?
Nothing. Okay. So that text is now a smart object. Now I'm going to duplicate that layer. Then I'm going to go under Edit, Transform, and we're going to flip this layer vertically. This will create a kind of a reflection of our text. Then I'm going to apply a layer mask to this layer. And with my gradient tool, going from black to transparent, which is the second icon right there, I'll hold down my Shift key and just starting from the bottom here and just draw up. And that will have that text fading away into the background a little bit. Then I will drop that layer's overall opacity down to about 60%. Actually, let's do 50. Now, I'm going to select both of those layers. These are both instances of the same smart object, and we're going to turn those two into a smart object. So we're nesting smart objects here, so you can just do all kinds of cool things with smart objects. So with both of those layers selected, go to Convert to Smart Object. There we have that. Now, I'm going to take this smart object, I'm going to bring up Free Transform, and then I'm going to hold down my Control key, or right click if you're on a PC, and bring up this little submenu here, and we're going to go to, you guessed it, Warp. Then, I'm not going to manually warp this, I'm actually going to let Photoshop do it for me. I'm going to go over here and select Arc Lower. And it will arc the text in a downward way, which is not what I want. I actually want the opposite. So I'm actually in the bend field here. I'm going to type -30. And I'll press enter. And we'll apply it. Now, actually I want to bring up Free Transform again and kind of squish this in, because when you warp it, it tends to distort your graphic just a little bit. And there we have that. Now, just to kind of finish this off, the look of this, I'm going to create a new layer right beneath it. By holding down the Command key, when you click a new layer icon, it'll actually place a layer beneath your active layer. We'll go over here and select just kind of a subtle background color. And something like that. Using my gradient tool, going from color to transparent, I'm just going to drag from the top down a little bit there. So now it's done. Well, now let's decide, maybe you've gotten to a point where you need to change what the text says. And you don't want to have to go through all those steps of applying at warp and all that again. Well, alas, you've made it into a smart object, so you don't have to. So you just double click.
Alas.
Alas.
Anytime you can work alas into a tutorial is a good day.
So I'll double click into that first smart object, and there's those two objects, the lettering and its reflection. But I'm also going to double click on that smart object inside there. And here we are at our original text layer, still editable text. So I'm just going to double click on that layer and highlight the text, and here we'll change it to wicked. It's wicked. Because it's wicked dark in there. Now just center that in there, and all I have to do now is just close this document, click Save. It will update in that next Smart Object file. Close that, then click Save, and there it will update in your document right then. Don't have to go and reapply the text. You can just, through Smart Objects, go in there and apply all the distortion you want, and you can knowing that you can go back there and fix it.
Sweet.
Anytime you need to.
Anytime, anywhere.
So,
cool.
Very cool stuff. All right, there you have it.
Well, thank you. Now, I think it's time to turn it over to, you guessed it, a 30-second, maybe a 32-second commercial. So we'll see you in 30 seconds, or 32. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. And a couple of things before we move on. So we still have our contest of the week to go, as well as all the on the road and fun stuff. A couple things. Big contest. Big. Photoshop TV, the first contest that we've ever had. So we've talked about it before, but we're going to talk about it again because it's that cool.
It is very cool. $1,000 Photoshop or B&H shopping spree.
Very cool. So we fly round-trip airfare and one-night hotel lodging and $1,000 shopping spree for B&H. So very cool stuff. A little bit about the contest. You want to enter 3 of your best photos. Mm-hmm. You've got to be 18 or older. And how do they win?
How do they win? They go to photoshoptv.com to get all the information you need regarding the contest, all the official rules, everything like that, and check it out and submit your best work. And it doesn't have to be exactly something specific to Photoshop.
Not at all. I mean,
so if it's something you shot on a Polaroid, by all means, submit it.
Your best 3 photographs, and here's how we'll decide. We will look at the photos, and we will say which ones we like the best.
Exactly.
We're not looking at anything else but which photos that we like the best. Can I say that enough times?
Wow us.
Yes.
Really blow us away.
So good luck, everybody, and you can always find out more at photoshoptv.com.
Very cool.
All right. Well, let's take a walk over to the Action Storm Team News Center and greet Miss Stephanie Cross for the Photoshop News of the Week.
Photoshop Storm Team Action News with news anchor Stephanie Cross.
Hey guys, Stephanie Cross here again with the news for you. First off, NewTek Incorporated has announced Lightwave Rendition for Adobe Photoshop. The product provides a 3D render output for Photoshop CS3 Extended. It will be available for beta test participation beginning in May. Check it out. And next, Adobe has announced public previews of the CS3 versions of Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Sound Booth. Go to Adobe Labs to download the previews. Check it out today. And last but not least, Sonic has introduced a new plugin with Photoshop designed to help with the creation of HD DVD and Blu-ray menus. It's called the Designer PS 2.0. Check it out at this website right here. I'm Stephanie Cross, and I'll see you back next week.
Well, hi everybody. Here we are inside B&H Photo in New York City at their New York City Superstore, and we're here to kick off a brand new photo contest. That's right, Photoshop T, we're finally sponsoring our own photo contest, and basically it's called the Photoshop TV Shopping Spree at B&H Photo. Now, if you send in yours and you win, and Dave's going to tell you what the rules are here in just a moment, but if you win the grand prize, we are going to fly you round trip here to New York City. We're going to put you up in a hotel, and we're going to give you a $1,000 shopping spree in the coolest photo store on earth.
All right, so basically the rules are very simple. Send in your best photos. There's no rules about anything else except that. It's not a contest of who does the best Photoshop work. It's just really, the 3 of us are going to look at the entries and decide which one we like the best. So if you do a lot of Photoshop work, that's fine. If you just take a photo, that's fine too. Now, you'll find all the rules in terms of size and resolution, all that stuff on the website. But the key thing is, you just have to send something in that you think we will like. That's it. There's no other rules except that. We will decide the one we like the best, and that person will win. Check it out.
Go to photoshoptv.com. You'll be able to send in a maximum of 3 entries per person. All your entries need to be digital only. Don't go sending us prints. And you need to send in your contest entries by June 1st, 2007. One more thing though. If you're wondering how much $1,000 can buy you, come take a walk around the store with us and we'll show you.
Softbox all kind of modifiers. Nikon's 18 to 200 and Nikon SB800 and Elmcrom lighting system. This is the brand new wide format Epson 1400, the new spider light system. The 105 macro, but it's the VR version. Reflectors for springs, for backgrounds, all that stuff.
I hope to see your work entered in the Photoshop TV shopping spree at B&H Photo. All right, back to the studio.
Well, thank you, Miss Stephanie Cross. She does the news so good.
Well,
nothing more to be said than she does the news very, very well. Hey, we've got On the Road coming up for you and our contest. Make sure you check out photoshoptraining.com. CS3 is out there. You're probably getting your copies very shortly if you don't have it already. And I've got a brand new CS3 power session. So it's meant specifically, it's a 21-day training course, about 5 minutes a day, meant specifically to get you up to speed on the new features inside of CS3. So it's at photoshoptraining.com.
very cool.
What's next?
Well, we're going to go to On the Road, but I'm still trying to figure out what's going on here. So
Pamela's like, on the road. So
On the Road.
Let's take a look at Photoshop on the road. See
Who's
where all
on
the
the road?
Photoshop instructors are. Let's take a look at where our Photoshop guys and friends are. First off, Ben Wilmore's teaching the digital photography and Photoshop tour. He'll be in New York on May 11th, and he'll be in Seattle on May 15th. Next up, Scott's taking the Lightroom Live tour to Boston on May 21st. Bert Monroy is kicking off the Illustrator CS2 tour. Yep, I said Illustrator. And he will be in San Francisco on May 22nd. Don't forget our buddy Dave Cross is with cruisingthroughlife.com, and he's teaching an Alaska cruise in August. So you'll want to check that out. And finally, I'll be teaching that photographic workshop in Banff National Park, and you can go to gapweb.com. Finally, just go to photoshopseminars.com. You can find out all the details on all the seminars we talk about. That's it for this week. Back to all the things that we do.
And we're back. Well,
Yay!
yippee! I think it's contest time.
It is contest time.
Is it contest time?
It
I
is.
think it is. Well, last week was a remarkably difficult question provided by Matt.
Yes, I guess I have to provide the answer.
Provide the answer, please.
The answer is, where do you find the global light setting? If you'll hold on while I go look. It's, no, you go, oh, there, Corey's computer's talking to me. You can find a global light setting if you go into the layer menu and you go down to layer style. You will see global light inside there. So congratulations to said winner of contest.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Now we have a new contest and new prizes. Corey,
New prizes. Well, first off, you get the smashing good first season of Photoshop TV.
critically acclaimed.
It's only critically acclaimed, award-winning Photoshop TV. It's only 11 and a half minutes long. You'll enjoy every second.
You also get a copy of Scott Kelby's brand new Photoshop Lightroom book for digital photographers. Remember how I did a tutorial from it? You too can steal Scott's tutorials if you win this book.
And lastly, you will receive a subscription to Layers Magazine, the Everything Adobe magazine. It's all in here. Check it out.
Cool. So what's the question?
Question this week is, when you want to view your image on screen and nothing else, you don't want to see any of your palettes or toolbars or anything, what is the one key you press to hide all those panels and everything like that? There's one key. It's just one key that you press. Tell me what that is, and you'll win all of this. Well, not the laptops, but just the books. So, but there you have it.
Cool.
Go ahead, PhotoshopTV.com. Go to the contest link and have fun.
All right, now it is time for our 3 things to do between now and next week. I'll kick it off. First up, we have, go check out Mr. Dave Cross. He's not here. He hasn't been here for a while, but his blog continues on. So if you miss Dave, and if you miss keeping up with Dave, go check his blog out, davecross.blogspot.com.
And of course, Adobe Systems has a blog site for everything that's going on with all their products and everything. It's the Adobe Blogs. You can find it at blogs.adobe.com. Very cool stuff. A lot of good information.
Cool. And finally, you want to go check out, if you want some more Photoshop tutorials and you have an appetite for that kind of thing, go check out Planet Photoshop. It is actually hosted by Mr. Corey Barker himself, but lots of great tutorials on there and some of the latest Photoshop news and whatnots. That said, one for the road. I did it last week.
I do
so you
have
know what
one.
that means?
I have one for the road. All right. So you're inside Photoshop. You really want to see what your image looks like without the clutter of all the background, your desktop, and everything like that. Well, there's one simple key you can press to bring your image to full screen. You know what that is? It's the F key. Simply press the F key one time and you'll get a gray background, and then another time it'll blacken the background altogether. You can view your image without any obstructions, except the palettes. And there is a key for that, but it's the contest question.
I was just going to say, that works great with our contest.
When you get that contest question right, you can use the combination and just remove everything from your screen.
Things get crazy then.
They do.
All right. Well, folks, thank you for, once again, putting up with us for another 30-minute episode of Adobe Photoshop TV on behalf of myself, Matt Kloskowski, and This guy,
That's
Mr.
just
Corey
me.
Barker,
All right.
stealer of shirts.
Steeler out of. What do you know? Who knew?
We thank you, and we will see you next week on Adobe Photoshop TV.
Blammo.
All right, ready?